Let's see the types of research design. As we have studied earlier, what is research design? It is a master plan or it is a blueprint of the whole research, which will help us to lead the pathway forward, and we will go ahead with the research on a correct track. But generally, research designs are classified into very broad categories, that is quantitative and qualitative research design. As the name suggests, that quantitative, which is giving some kind of numerical values, it will be hypothesized in a numerical value. But in qualitative, we are in depth studying about the nature, about the attributes, about the behavior, or it can be the characteristic which can be in depth studied. Let's study quantitative research design. Quantitative research design is again having a broad categories in which the first is experimental research design. What is experimental research design? Let's understand that. Means we are going for any kind of experiment or we are intervening on the subject which we are taking in our study. It is concerned with the examination of the effect of independent variables on dependent variables. So let us understand an example. If the person is aged and he is suffering from any kind of respiratory disorder, but smoking is the independent variable which is affecting or it is triggering the dependent variable disorder. So the person who is suffering from COPD, the independent variable is smoking. So we can variate, we can manipulate by stopping the smoking, and it can be helping out to stop the triggering action of that. So a very clear thing is all the experimental researches have a common characteristic, which is manipulation of independent variables. But in true experimental design, it also consists of principle of randomization and control, which we will understand later on. In experimental research design, it's a very powerful design by testing the hypothesis of causal relationship among the variables. It might be minimizing the effect of extraneous variables which might confound his or her result. Okay, of the researcher who is doing the study can have a different kind of result. Okay, further it has been classified into true experimental design, quasi-experimental design, and pre-example research design. Okay, what is this? We will study one by one. Number one is true experimental design. In this true experimental design, what happens is the design where the researcher have complete control over the extraneous variable and can predict confidently that the observed effect on the dependent variable is only due to the manipulation of independent variable. Let's take an example of that, where the essential characteristics we know that it is manipulation, control, and randomization. So you know that manipulation is one of the independent variables which is being present in the control group, and randomization. Okay, it is in the presence of control group. Which is the control group? Control group is again who is being the part of study might be kept aside with the intervention. Right. So let us understand what is manipulation. It refers to the conscious control of independent variables by the researcher. Okay. So let's take an example that I am doing a study on a ventilator associated pneumonia patients and who is admitted in the ICU. So in this example, chlorhexidine mouthwash will be the independent variable which will be manipulated by the researcher. In this, it is used as an intervention for experimental group, while the control group will be deprived of it, will be kept away from that experiment. So again, what is control group? Let's understand. It is another essential element of true experimental study. Okay, which is referring to the control group and controlling the effects of the extraneous variable. That means the extraneous variable, for example, above we seen that the chlorhexidine mouthwash is not being kept in consideration or kept in use with this patient. So, extraneous variables on the dependent variables in which the researcher is interested. Okay, the subjects in the control group. and experimental groups are similar in number and characteristics. But subjects in the control groups receive no experiment. Okay, we have lots of type of controls. For example, consider negative control. So what is negative control? In which subject is neither receiving the placebo therapy or neither is reversed by any kind of treatment or intervention. So in this, there is no any type of intervention. Neither it is a false treatment, neither it is any kind of real treatment is given. But in clear control, the person is receiving a placebo therapy. It can be given some kind of just consider that he is given the sugar balls and he is said that it is a medication for the pain to subside, but the patient is not knowing that this is not having any kind of medication substitution or no any kind of substance which will relieve the pain, but he is considering with his psychology that it is given any kind of intervention. So he might be with the behavioral, with the psychological impact, he will get some kind of therapy. Okay. In positive control, it is a real treatment given, and it can be the other treatment or the experimental intervention which has been given to the subject. Now next is what? It is matching. Okay, what is matching? We have the certain kinds of control extraneous variables which is including matching. So in that, subject characteristics in both the groups, it is having a common method of control over the extraneous variables. For example, like age and gender are matching variables of interest in a two group study. Okay, so if the example is 65 years old woman is recruited for first group, the researcher would try to find out another 65 years, means the age group should be similar in the same study, and both the groups will have a similar character of subject. In counterbalancing, what we will do? In counterbalancing, we are seeing that it is another way where we having the active control on the extraneous variables. The research is concerned with the orders in which treatment or intervention administered influence the study results. For example, in counterbalancing, we are using the study to study the effect of several different relaxation techniques by varying the order in which they are administered to the subject. And lastly, the homogeneity by the statistical test, in which we will have no significant difference in the basic character of the subject that may affect the dependent variables among different groups. For example, we ensure the homogeneity of the demographic characters among two groups under the study. Okay, so experimental and control groups are not statistically different in age, gender, marital status, and they are having adequate control can be ensured among this group. And next is randomization. Okay, we are still studying the characteristics. We are studying, we are studying about the critical part of the true experimental study, which are the three characteristics of the true experimental study. So lastly, we will study about the randomization. What is randomization? We are randomly assigning the subject. So they are getting a chance of equal chance, and they are not being biased. So this is chance of systemic bias is eliminated. Okay, so subjects are being randomly assigned in this group. Okay, next, quasi-experimental design. Okay, what is there in quasi-experimental design? In this study, we are manipulation of the independent variables, but the absence of either randomization or control group is there. So in quasi-experimental, again, non-randomization control group design is there and time series design are there. But before going through this, let's have a look towards the in detail true experimental design. So post-test control and control design. So in post-test, only control design is including, we have two randomly assigned groups. Okay, so that is experimental and control group. In every study, we will have these two groups, but we can understand who is given the implementation of the treatment or experimental group is there. But in this study, a post-test only control design, neither of which is which is pre-tested before. So none of them is given the pre-test, and before the implementation of the treatment or experimental on the experimental group. In addition, while the treatment is implemented on the experimental group, only post-test observation is carried out. So no pre-test. But let's take another example. I am not taking any kind of prior assessing the prior knowledge of the students, but I will directly assess after taking a class of the students on the cardiovascular disorder, and then I will assess their knowledge about regarding the subject. So I have given some kind of intervention and then I am going to assess. So there was no prior assessment done, and it is directly done after giving any kind of intervention, and then it has been post tested. So in this, the randomly assigned group is having experimental group which is being given the treatment, means they are being taught about the cardiovascular system, and then I have assessed their knowledge, that is the post test. In control group, there will be no treatment, but directly we are doing the post test. So definitely it will be having the result differentiation from the above. In next is pre-test, post-test group, control group design. Okay, so we can see that pre-test, post-test control is there in this group. So what will happen? Again, random assignment of group, that is experimental group and control group is there. But experimental group, here we are including the pre-test before the any kind of intervention. So there is experimental group who is undergoing a pre-test prior giving any kind of learning, or I am teaching the students, but priorly I am assessing their previous knowledge before any kind of teaching given. Then after I am giving a class teaching, that is my treatment, and then after I am assessing again. So I have two different results that was being priorly assessed to the teaching, and then after my teaching assessment is being seen. So we will have different kinds of results. The scores will be different of each student from the previous one which they scored. So it might be having the different output. In control group, again, pre-test is already done, but later on we are even doing certain time period, we are doing the post-test. Now next is Solomon for group design. In that again there are two experimental groups. Why? One is being again we are segregated into four parts. What we did in the previous one, pre-test, post-test, control group, but we are having four sets of it. Okay, so one is experimental group one, second is control group one, another set is experimental group two, and control group two. In first set, that is group 1 of experimental and control group, I am taking a pre-test prior to any kind of study or in, like survey. I am taking the pre-test assessment. Then after in experimental, it's the name suggesting, we will give any kind of treatment. For example, I am giving a massage therapy. So prior to massage therapy, I will ask about the pain scale, and then after I am giving the massage therapy and I am assessing the pain scale. So it might be deprived of pain. So pain might be reduced. In control group, I am doing the pre-test, but I am not giving any kind of massage, but after later on I am again doing the post-test. Similar way, in second set, I am having again experimental and control group where the pre-test is totally avoided. I am directly going for the treatment and doing the post-test, and in control group I am directly going for the post-test, neglecting the treatment. So lastly, what is this factorial design? Okay, in factorial design, researcher will manipulate two or more independent variables simultaneously to observe their effect on the dependent variable. This design is useful when there is more than two independent variables called the factors to be tested. Let's take an example. Researcher wants to observe the effect of two different protocols of mouth care on prevention of ventilatory associated pneumonia when performed at different frequency in a day. This design will also facilitate the testing of several hypotheses at a single time. Typically, factorial design incorporates 2 is to 2 and 2 is to 3 factorial, but it can be in any combination. Okay, so this is what in the factorial design. In randomized block design, we will see that control of inherent differences between the experimental subject and differences in experimental condition is one of the difficult problems faced by the researcher in biological science. When there are large number of experimental comparison groups, so the randomized block design is used to bring the homogeneity among the selected different groups. This is the simple method to reduce the variability among the treatment groups by more homogeneous combination of the subjects through randomized block design. Example, a researcher wants to examine the effect of 3 different antihypertensive drugs on patient with hypertension. In this example, to ensure the homogeneity of among the subjects under treatment, researcher randomly places the subjects in homogeneity group blocks like patient with primary hypertension, diabetic patient with hypertension, and renal patient with hypertension. So this design looks similar to the factorial design in structure, but out of 2 factors, one factor is not experimentally manipulated. Like in the given example, there are 2 factors like type of antihypertensive drugs and type of patient with hypertension, where only the type of drug is manipulated and the type of patient with hypertension are simply grouped in different blocks with similar characteristics to ensure the homogeneity. Next is the crossover, that is the last design for the true experimental design. Okay, in crossover group, subjects are exposed to more than one treatment. Fine, let's consider that where subjects are randomly assigned to different orders of treatment. It is also known as a repeat measure design. This design is more efficient in establishing the highest possible similarity among subjects. Though this crossover design is considered as an experimentally powerful research design, sometimes it's not effective because one subject is exposed to 2 different conditions. Their responses of second conditions may influence by the first one. For example, I am giving the patient treatment, like for example, both the ventilatory associated pneumonia, I am giving the treatment with the chlorhexidine and hydrogen peroxide also, or take a simple saline also. So firstly, I have gone through the treatment with chlorhexidine. So it might have really relieved the symptoms of the ventilatory associated pneumonia. But later on, secondly, I'm giving the saline. So it might be the result variated because already first treatment might have started working. Okay. So this is how there is differences in the study, and this is leading to variation in the results. I'm sorry. When looking towards the next subtype of experimental research design, that is quasi-experimental design. So in that, again, there are 2 minor categories, that is non-randomized control group design, time series research design. What is quasi-experimental design? In this study, there is manipulation of independent variable, but there will be no randomization or no control group. So there is totally absence of randomization and control group, only the manipulation is present. Okay, so we are aware that quasi-experimental research design involves the manipulation. In other words, we can say that the element of manipulation is there, but there is a lack of at least one or the 2 properties that is characterized in the true experiment design that we have seen above. Okay. Quasi-experimental design are generally used to establish causality, that is effect of independent variable on the dependent variable. In the situation where researchers are not able to randomly assign the subjects to groups, or for various reasons there might be no control group is available for experimental study. So main characteristic we can know, there will be the manipulation of the independent variable, lack of least of essential characteristic of the true experiment, that is no random, and there will be no control group. Quasi-independent variables are used instead of true independent variables. Okay, there again are the subtypes. Let's go ahead. Non-randomized control group design. It is also known as non-equivalent control group. Okay, there is no random. So there is non-equivalent control group. In the randomization, some might be getting the equal chance. There will be no bias. But your non-equivalent control group design, the design is identical to the pre-test post-test control group design, except that there will be no random assignment in the experiment and control groups. In the design, experimental and control groups are selected without randomization. Okay, so forget about the randomization, and the dependent variables are observed in experimental as well as control groups before any kind of interventions. Okay, so definitely it will look before the intervention, and later the experimental group receives a treatment, and after that post test will be observed. So it can be the kind of pre-test, post-test control group design. Okay, so let's have an example. The consequences of combined care on the nature of working in nursing homes, a quasi-experiment. The aim of the study was to check the application of the combined care in nursing homes and its consequences on one kind of the work given by the caregiver. Okay, the non-equivalent pre-test post-test control group design was used in this study. Okay, data was collected by questionnaire. Results showed that the intervention seemed to be outstanding on the somatic wards. Okay, so the caregivers in these wards were very successful in developing home-like environment. So we know that there will be the treatment, there will be the post-test that was giving a stupendous results. Okay, in time series design, as the name suggests, that time series. It is useful when the experimenter wants to measure the effects of the treatment for longer period of time. So it will be having the characteristic according to its name. In this, the experimenter would continue to administer the treatment and measure the effects a number of times during the course of the experiment. So this will be having only single subject research, in which researcher carry out the experiment on an individual, or it can be a very small number of individuals. It can be like having the small number of group. So in this, what happens? We have experimental group and control group. In experimental, we are doing the pre-test, then we are giving the treatment, and we are doing the post-test. In control group, we are doing the pre-test but no treatment, and we are doing the post-test. Okay, let's move ahead. That what is the pre-experimental design? That will be the last one of the part. So in this test, we will have a discussion on this. This research design is considered to be very weak, because where the research is having no control or somewhere very less control over the experiment. So the types of experimental design are one-shot case design. Okay, what is that one-shot case design? Means a single experimental group is exposed to the treatment and observations are made after implementing the treatment. So there is no random assignment of the subjects to the experimental group and no control group again. In one group pre-test, post-test design, it's simplest type of pre-experimental design where only the experimental group is selected. Okay. A pretest observation of dependent variables is made before implementation of the treatment to the selected groups. So the treatment is administered and finally a post-test observation of dependent variable is carried out to assess the effect of treatment. Okay, so in this one shot case design, just to have a differentiation, in one shot case design, experimental group is there, treatment is given, and we are doing for the post test. Okay, so what is the effect we are finding out with the post test? In the other group, that is one group pre-test, post-test design, we can understand that both half the test has to be done. So in experimental group, we are providing with the pre-test, treatment is given, and then post-test will be done after the treatment. So it will have effect on the treatment on the group which has been given. So this design measures effect of experimental group based on the state before the beginning of the experiment, that was pre-test, and lastly after the experiment, that is after the end of the intervention. So if we are having an example that stress coping resources of associated degree nursing students. In this study, pre-test and post-test design were used. So three groups in nursing programs, each group completed the instrument of coping resources inventory for stress at the beginning and at the end of the first year of nursing course. Okay, so the modified curriculum group received the intervention for development of stress coping resources in their initial nursing course, and the second group experienced self-directed intervention, and the third group received no intervention. So this study concluded that the curriculum intervention for the first year degree nursing resulted in the increase of stress monitoring and tension control group we were seeing. All right. Then second is non-experimental. A major category, broad category is non-experimental research design. So we are having various kind of research design in this again. So what is the need of non-experimental design? In the study in which independent variables cannot be manipulated. Okay. And it is unethical to manipulate the independent variables. That is, manipulation may cause physical or psychological harm to the subject. So the study or the research situations where it is not practically possible to conduct the experiments, we are doing this designs, taking the design. Descriptive type of studies do not require any experimental approach. Okay, there are various kinds. That is, first is descriptive design. It is what, like, just understand what is non-experimental design is, how there will be the characteristic of individual, situation or group and frequency with which a certain phenomenon occurs in a natural setting without any manipulation. Okay, so first one is descriptive design. It is kind of design which has been observed, describing and documenting the particular situations which is naturally occurring, sometimes to serve the starting point for the hypothesis generalization or theory development. It is again having univariate descriptive design, that is, studies undertaken to describe the frequency of occurrence of phenomenon rather than to study the relationship. In exploratory investigations, I'm sorry for interruption. Yeah, investigating the phenomenon and its related factors about which very little is known. And lastly, comparative, where there is comparison occur, comparing occurrence of the phenomenon of two or more. All right. Second is correlational. We can know that there is a correlation, means we are just having a relation between the two. We are just finding the correlation or relationship between the two or more variables in a natural setting. Keep in mind, it is a non-experimental group, so it will be done in the natural setting and without the control or manipulation. So the prospective, examining the relationship from the cause to effect. Something has cause and we will see till the effect. And retrospective, that is examining the relationship from effect to cause. It is vice versa, that this is coming in the kind of, it is a main feature of correlational or ex post facto design. So prospective and retrospective design are its subtypes. Next is developmental research design. What is that? We are examining any kind of situation in respect to the time. One is cross-sectional. We can examine the phenomenon only at single point. Okay, so one point in a time. And then second is longitudinal. We are longer period of time, or it can be more than one point of time. Next is epidemiological design of case control studies or cohort studies. Okay, the investigations of the distribution and cause of disease in the population is known as this epidemiological or case control studies. All right. In survey research design, we are doing any kind of survey. Okay, generalized census studies and all these come in the survey study. Investigation in which self-reported data are collected from the samples with the purpose of describing the population on some variable of interest. All right. So in survey, we are just going through different kind of exploration. We are finding out, we are investigating, and we are reporting the data which has been collected. Well, so we studied about the survey research design, and lastly, other additional research design, that is methodological design, which is having research conducted to develop any kind of test or evaluate the research instrument and methods. In meta-analysis, that is a second subtype of additional research design, where we are doing or integrating the multiple research studies in a particular topic. We are combining them and we are quantitatively we are studying on them. Lastly, secondary data analysis, in which the research design data collection is there on one research and is reanalyzed by another research. Usually the test is with the new hypothesis. All right, so these are the technically other additional research design. Fourth is outcome research, in which is involving the evaluation of the care practices and system in a place. It is used in nursing to develop the evidence-based practice. For example, I am giving a patient regular back massage to assess that is it having an impact on the bud sore or not, and improving the nursing action. But if my positions or if my circulatory points, if I am not taking a correct point, if I am not taking a proper solution, that means it can be corrected with another methodology. So it is a kind of evidence which is evidence based practice which is giving any kind of solution, or it is forecasting for better improvement of the studies. Next is evaluation studies. What is there in evaluation studies? It is a research design in which it is involving some kind of judgment about the success of a program, practices, procedures, and policies. So we are having a judgment and we are evaluating on the certain kind of practices or the phenomenon or whatever the activities which is ongoing. In operational researches, which is involving the complex human organization and services to develop new knowledge about the institutional programs. So we are using any kind of facilities, personnel in order to improve the working of any kind of organization. So that is what operational. So next we will study the qualitative research design. Well, in qualitative research design, we know that what is qualitative, we have to see the attributes in depth, we have to study something about in depth about the attributes. Well, so another definition for it can be, or it can be stated as, it can be the study for the social and cultural phenomenological, or it can contribute towards the social sciences. And it is an inductive approach because we are discovering or expanding the knowledge. Okay, in this it includes the researcher's involvement, and it is identifying the meaning and relevance of particular phenomenon. So one researcher has to involve himself in that particular kind of study. Its characters can be different as emerge as a study advances. It believes that qualitative research design emerge as a study advance. Next, it is flexible and elastic. Then next, multiple strategies of data collection, that is triangulations, can be utilized. Then it is a holistic approach. Intense researchers' involvement is required, and ongoing data analysis might be, can be for the longer period of time, because we have to assess the characteristic of particular group. Okay, let's say that different types of research design in it. Phenomenological research. What is that? It is including the main features like phenomenon. It is examining the human experiences through the descriptions provided by the people involved. So, for example, I'm sorry. For example, I just want to go with the children who are malnourished, who are staying in the slum areas, how their behavioral pattern is. I just want to see their lifestyle. So I will go there and I will ask the questions to the people who are staying in the slum region, and I will ask the question to the parents of the malnourished children. So we are changing ourselves by involving in themselves, and we are finding something about their experiences. In ethnographical researches, we will collect the data or information for certain kind of cultures. Okay, so just example, I have the different lifestyle as I'm Gujarati. Another person who is a South Indian might have different cultural group. Their lifestyle, life patterns might be different. They might have different disease or disorders due to any kind of lacking in the body or system. In other people like Marathis, they are having a different kind of variations. For a simple example or illustration, we will go to the education pattern. There will be different kind of educational sectors or knowledge might be varying from one culture to another. So that can be an ethnographical research. In grounded theory, we developed inductively from the corpus of the data which is acquired by the participants observer, and then in case studies, researcher or phenomenon by studying in depth for a single case. Example, the case can be the individual person, an event, or a group, or an institution. Historical research, which is the systematic collection and objective evaluation of data related to past occurrence in order to test the hypothesis concerning the causes, effect, or trends of these events, which will help to explain the present events and anticipate the future events. Okay, so we can even take an example, whatever we had experience in the past, we will try to improve that through these kind of studies. And this will help us to give the cause, effects and trends which was being evolved in the past. Alright, so this is what about the historical research. So if we want to exemplify something about the historical research, we have lots of examples. So it will have a stepwise data collection, like from the primary sources till the secondary sources. Okay. So just take an example, a study for the response or the adaptation process of a patient diagnosed with the cancer in one of the hospital. Okay, so it is a kind of historical research design. And lastly, we will study about the external research design. We will include the external research seeks the action to improve the practices which we were doing and study the effect of the action that was being taken. Alright, so these are the various kind of research design which is involved in the qualitative research design. So this was a whole about the research design and research approaches we have studied. Thank you.